what I'm going to say right now is probably going to shake things up a little bit, okay? It's not about the number of guys she has had so much as it is about the guys in her past that have had the alpha impact on her. So that's the numbers game side of it is not so much the numbers as it is the guys who are included in that number. So if a woman has, say, between, like, say, 3 and 5 guys in her past, okay, whatever, you laugh at that all you'd like. But let's just say, for sake of argument, we're going to take round numbers. She's got a low notch count. She's got a low body count. Those numbers, let's say maximum of 5, if one of those 5 guys was the best she could do, it satisfied what's called the hypergamous doubt. And that hypergamous doubt asks one question: is he the best I can do? Could I do better? If that question is answered by one of those 5 guys, that's her alpha widow. It might be even more than that. But the guy who answered that question the best, the guy that's the best sex she ever had, plus the best emotional impact. And I mean like imprinting her for life kind of impact, where she's pining for that guy well into her 30s and maybe even into her 40s. And that's where the fantasization aspect of the alpha widow comes into play. So it's not so much the numbers. Like, now, obviously, if a woman has 10 guys in her past, or 20, or whatever, triple digits, I don't care, that, of course, broadens the pool of guys who might be the alpha, the most alpha impact. Then along comes you at 30 some odd years old, and you think you're going to play by the rules that no one is playing by, and you get quote unquote blindsided right now by the fact that there was a guy in her past who really rocked her world. And I have to explain this to you because it doesn't even matter how long she was with that guy. And I'm going to suggest that you do this, and this is the only time I will ever suggest you go and look at a Katy Perry video, but go and look at the one that got away and listen to the lyrics and watch the video of this. That is the epitome of an alpha widow. And a lot of guys were saying she was writing that about Russell Brand, or like, oh no, it wasn't Russell Brand, it was one of her boyfriends from her high school where she was going to get married and she was showing off her ring. Look at my ring, blah, 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 blah. And she was still pining for the guy who was in her high school because she wanted to in some way get some kind of like lasting revenge or something like that, right? Well, she's really pining for that guy. She doesn't really want to get married to this dude. She wanted to get with that guy that got away. 5 minutes of alpha trumps 5 minutes of beta. So bear that in mind. Keep that in mind when you are unplugging from the matrix, when you are going and you're moving from your blue pill conditioning into a red pill awareness. I'm not saying all hope is lost. I'm just saying that those are the facts, and you need to consider them. Now, next thing, how do I get past that, Rollo? How do I defeat the alpha widow? I gotta fight the ghosts of her past, right? You have to, first of all, assess who that guy was, and then you've got to find some way to be the guy that has the most alpha impact, if that is what you want to do. Whenever I meet guys and they're trying to tell me, how do I fight with the ghosts? My first suggestion is this: do you even want to? Should you bother? If this woman is an alpha widow, bona fide alpha widow, and she can't get over this guy and she can't stop thinking about this guy, and to the point where maybe she's looking him up on Facebook, she's cyber stalking him on Instagram, whatever the social media thing, and it's never been easier for women to do that. If that's the case, then you need to ask yourself this question: is my pursuit, is my wanting to vet her in the first place worthwhile? Because right there, that's the question that's going to probably settle the whole thing for you right there. Thing that if you think she's so high value and so you really want to get with this girl, you really have a connection with her, yada 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 yada. Let's say you are bound and determined to get with this one girl, and you have to find some way to defeat the ghosts of her past. You have to find out some way to become the guy that rocks her world more than the guy who set the benchmark for it. You've got to be her alpha impact. You have to be such a high value guy, whatever you want to call it, alpha guy. You've got to be the guy that leaves her with such an alpha impression, with such an emotional connection and an imprinting, that she forgets about that guy and you become the next guy that she's imprinting on. When
when like baby ducklings are born, and they've done these tests way back in the 70s, right, where they had this study, or the behavioral psychologist is watching, and the ducklings will imprint on like whoever is going to be their source of survival. Usually it's the mother duck, right? And they follow the duck around, and you see them like, follow along that duck because they've imprinted on that. This is, again, theory. I'm spitballing. You can take this or leave this all as you wish, but it's whatever was the first impression, whatever was the source of security at that time, to the point where the actual researchers became the mother duck, and they would follow, the little ducks would follow around the researchers instead of the mama duck. Okay? So take that as you want, but it's an imprinting. It's like embedding that mental image of, that's the guy that would have done it for me. He's the one that got away, and women will write hit songs about that guy because that's how significant it is to the female psyche. And also, I'm going to also suggest that you watch the very end scene of Titanic. You don't have to watch Titanic. That's not your homework, okay? But the very end scene of Titanic, you can find it on YouTube, where Rose is pining for Jack, who she lost when she was a teenager. And we go, well, it's a romance. Yeah, it is. And the reason why it resonates is because that's how significant the alpha widow is. That's how significant optimizing hypergamy is to a woman's life. So you've got to keep that in mind when you're dealing with a woman who's an alpha widow, or assessing whether or not she is an alpha widow. Because not all women are alpha widows. You might be the guy that came in and rocked her world, right? You might be the guy answering that question, is he the best that I can do? Why do women get hung up on the alpha widow, or the alpha male? Why do they become alpha widows, I should say? Now, it's almost like they are widows. That's why I use the term widow. So when they get with that guy, the one that got away, it's almost as if that guy had died. He's removed from her life, but he's made such an impact, such an emotional, psychological impact on that woman. It feels as if he is dead. Jack dropped to the bottom of the ocean off the Titanic, froze to death, and now he's at a watery grave and has been there for forever. Drop the heart of the diamond she had. Drop the heart of the sea. Drops into, and that's really kind of symbolic of like her soul, or her love for Jack drops to the bottom of the sea. Meanwhile, the guy who facilitated her I'm talking about Titanic, Rose's lifestyle to let her be, Amelia Earhart and ride English horses and all that other great stuff that you see in the end scenes there, where you're looking at her life, the culmination of her life. Jack doesn't figure in there, but she can't get over it. She will never give her entire self to the guy that she is facilitating her lifestyle. She will never do that. I have met old women, I shouldn't say that, I've had other women explain to me, or they've related stories like this, where their mom or their grandmother had passed away, their grandfather had passed away, or their father or their grandfather had passed away, and they're talking to their grandmother, or they're talking to their mom, and who's now a widow. And I've had women tell me this, that they had this conversation with their grandmother, their mom, and they related something like this. There was always a part of me I could never give to him. I couldn't give it to him, but she could give it to the guy who was in her party years. They could give it to the one who got away. And I think that's a really tough red pill for guys to really sort of swallow, to digest, right, to